And Rashford has missed.
Barcelona didn't lose that semi-final because they weren't good enough. They lost because they had no second punch. And elite football isn't about having the best starting 11. It's about who changes the game when the starting 11 can't. That's where this conversation gets serious. 2 seasons ago, Marcus Rashford looked finished. Not injured, not unlucky. Finished. From Manchester United's golden boy to a shadow drifting through games. Confidence gone, decision-making rushed, body language defeated, the numbers dropped, the impact faded. And for the first time in his career, the criticism wasn't coming from rivals. It was coming from inside his own fan base. 2 seasons of regression. That's the harsh truth. But here's where it gets interesting. Because sometimes decline isn't the end of a story. Sometimes it's the setup. Now imagine this. Hansi Flick, Barcelona, a team that just dominated Spain. La Liga, Copa del Rey, Supercopa. A domestic treble. Real Madrid beaten home and away. A 5-2 demolition that wasn't just a victory. It was a power shift. Barcelona weren't just winning, they were imposing themselves. Aggressive press, structured midfield rotations, clear identity, tactical discipline. For the first time in years, they looked like a system, not just a collection of talent. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Spain was conquered, Europe wasn't. The Champions League exposed something deeper. Yes, there were controversial refereeing calls in that semi-final against Inter, but elite teams don't collapse because of referees. They collapse because of limits. And Barcelona hit theirs. In extra time, the legs were gone. The tempo slowed. The bench offered no solution. The only attacking option was an out-of-form Hansi Flick, a player still searching for rhythm, not someone ready to rescue a European semi-final. That's not a quality problem. That's a depth problem. And Hansi Flick knows it. He doesn't just want dominance in Spain. He wants control in Europe. And to do that, he needs one thing. Attacking variety, specifically on the left wing. Last season, the system functioned, but it didn't evolve. Rafinha prefers the right. Fati wasn't reliable. The left side became predictable against elite defenses. In Flick's system, the left winger isn't just a wide player, he's a tactical lever. Sometimes he stays wide to stretch a back four. Sometimes he cuts inside to overload midfield zones. Sometimes he runs beyond the striker to break a high defensive line. Sometimes he presses as a second striker. It's a role built on intelligence, speed, and adaptability. And this is where Marcus Rashford becomes interesting. Because at his peak, Rashford wasn't just a winger, he was chaos. Direct acceleration, vertical threat, elite off-ball runs, the ability to shoot early before defenders set their feet. When confident, he doesn't ask permission, he attacks space. Under the right structure, that profile becomes dangerous again. Flick's high-pressing system would demand more from him defensively. His positional discipline would sharpen Rashford's decision-making. And surrounded by Barcelona's midfield control, Rashford wouldn't need to create everything alone like he often did at United. He would have defined tasks, defined patterns, defined movements. And sometimes that's exactly what a player needs. But here's the real question. Is Rashford still that player, or was that version of him tied to moments that have already passed? Because this isn't just about Barcelona rebuilding depth. This is about identity. If Flick gets this right, Rashford doesn't become Rafinha 2.0. He becomes something more dangerous. A transitional weapon in a possession-dominant team. A runner behind defensive lines when others want the ball at their feet. A chaos button in a structured system. But if he fails, then Barcelona risks repeating history. Signing potential instead of certainty. And at this level, potential is expensive. So this isn't just a transfer rumor, it's a tactical gamble. And in modern football, gambles define eras. Last season exposed something uncomfortable. Not about Barcelona's starting 11, about their ceiling. Because Ferran Torres showed flashes, but not consistency. Ansu Fati had moments, but not reliability. And when matches demanded a game-changing substitute, there wasn't one. In domestic competition, that's survivable. In the Champions League, it's fatal. That's why Flick's objective this season isn't cosmetic. It's structural. He doesn't want a strong team, he wants a complete squad. A squad where rotation doesn't weaken intensity. Where substitutes don't protect leads, they extend them. Where every attacking role has a second solution. And that brings us back to the left wing. Because in Flick's system, that position isn't optional. It's strategic. And there is one name that, tactically, makes uncomfortable sense. Marcus Rashford. But to understand why, we need context. 2 seasons ago, Rashford wasn't a debate. He was decisive, over 30 goals in all competitions. United's primary attacking outlet? Direct, relentless, efficient. That version of Rashford was devastating, receiving wide left, accelerating diagonally, striking early before defenders could set, attacking the half space instead of hugging the touchline. He wasn't just scoring, he was destabilizing defensive structures. But then came the drop. And here's where nuance matters. It wasn't just bad form. Manchester United's structure collapsed. The press lost synchronization, the midfield lost control. The build-up slowed, transitions disappeared, and Rashford is not a player who thrives in slow possession. He thrives in rhythm, in verticality, in chaos, but controlled chaos. Instead, he became isolated, receiving static balls against set defenses, forced into low-percentage shots, confidence drained. When confidence leaves a direct winger, hesitation replaces instinct. That's what we saw. The criticism intensified, the headlines followed. But the deeper issue wasn't effort, it was environment. Then came the managerial shift. A tactical refresh under new leadership brought brief signs of life. Better rotations, faster combinations, improved spacing. Rashford looked sharper, but off the pitch, tensions reportedly grew. Questions about discipline, about consistency, about trust. And when trust erodes between coach and player, performance rarely survives. The loan to Aston Villa changed the atmosphere. Under Unai Emery, Rashford stepped into structure. Compact press, clear vertical triggers, defined movement patterns. 10 league games, 5 goal contributions. Not extraordinary numbers, but contextually, significant. Because what returned wasn't just output, it was body language. He attacked space again, pressed with intent, made cleaner decisions in the final third. Rashford's issue was never technical, it was systemic. He needs clarity. He needs speed in transition. He needs a coach who sets parameters but allows vertical freedom. Now think about Hansi Flick. High press, quick regains, vertical combinations, fluid front 3 rotations. Flick doesn't build slow, sterile possession. He builds pressure. He builds momentum. He builds waves. And in that environment, Rashford becomes something different. Because Barcelona already have control players. Rafinha, Yamal, Lewandowski. They have ball security. What they lack is transitional explosiveness from the left. A player who can run beyond the defensive line when Lewandowski drops deep. Attack space immediately after regains. Stretch high blocks. Punish teams who overcommit. And Rashford does all of that naturally. Positionally, he's strongest starting wide left. But he can also play as a central striker in rotation, switch flanks mid-game, operate as a second striker in fluid phases. That versatility is not luxury, it's tactical insurance. Imagine this scenario: Champions League quarterfinals, opposition pressing high, game tied in the 71st minute. Flick looks to the bench. Instead of an out-of-form option, he introduces pace, directness, a runner behind tired legs. That's not just rotation, that's a weapon. But here's the tension. Barcelona is not a rehabilitation center. This isn't about potential.
Rashford would be
It's
stepping
about
into a team
performance under
expected to
pressure.
win, not rebuild. And at Barcelona, patience is limited. So the real question isn't, can Rashford play in Spain? The real question is, can he rediscover his elite version inside a system that demands both discipline and decisiveness? Because if he does, he doesn't just improve Barcelona's depth, he transforms their ceiling. And that's where this becomes dangerous. Rashford hasn't always been consistent in recent seasons. His form has fluctuated. Confidence has dipped at times. But we've also seen what he looks like when he's in rhythm. 30-goal seasons, big game performances, decisive moments. The talent has never been the question. The environment has been. And under a coach like Flick, who demands structure, intensity, and clarity of role, Rashford wouldn't be asked to do everything. He'd be asked to do what he does best: run, stretch, attack space, press aggressively. Barcelona don't need Rashford to be their superstar. They need him to be their accelerator. And when you're already close to being complete, sometimes that's the final piece. Because depth wins leagues, but variation wins Champions Leagues. If this move ever becomes reality, it wouldn't just signal ambition, it would signal evolution. A Barcelona side that doesn't just want to control games, but one that can destroy them when needed. And that's the difference between being good in Europe and being feared again. Now, I want to hear from you. Would Rashford be the missing piece? Or is Barcelona already complete?
Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe, because we're just getting started.